Hello, and welcome to Onboarding for Microsoft Office Specialist Certification Training. My name is Susan, and I am here to walk you through how to access the Microsoft Office training. When you're on your home screen in Talent, you will see all of the courses that you are enrolled in. You will find the Microsoft Office Specialist Training course that belongs to you, and you will click it to get started. So let's go ahead and start with Word. You will be taken to a landing page. This functions like the table of contents for your course, and you scroll down and you can see all of the lessons, all of the assignments, and everything you'll need to do to complete this course. We'll talk more about what's involved in the course in just a little bit, but the first thing I'd like us to do is just take a quick tour of the screen and familiarize ourselves with our tools here. Over here on the left, you have a Resume Course button. To jump back into the course where you left off, you can click this at any time. The green checks in front of an assignment indicate that this is an assignment that you have already finished. If there's nothing in front of the assignment, it means you have not yet done that assignment. This course is set up to be sequential. That means that you have to do the assignments in the order that they appear on the page. You are not allowed to skip over anything. However, you can always go backwards if you want to review, and our course has a lot of repetition purposely built into it to allow you to be introduced to a topic, practice that topic, and revisit that topic and practice it until it becomes second nature. At the top of your screen, you see that you have a home button up here in the upper left corner. That'll take you back to your courses page. You also have a home button right here. We'll do the same thing. This points button here is not functioning yet. You may see that you're racking up points as you're clicking things, but you can pay no attention to those because we haven't set them up yet. So let's talk a little bit about how this course is designed. I'm going to bring up a Word document right now that will explain how we've structured our course. So this course will result in an industry recognized credential. The MO100 exam right here, this is an exam that's been designed by Microsoft. It takes 50 minutes to complete, and if you can score 700 out of 1,000 points, you get to call yourself a Microsoft Office Specialist Associate level in Word 2019-365. The reason this is known as an industry recognized credential is because Microsoft itself developed the standards and they developed the testing. So when you pass this test, it means something in the larger world across Minnesota, across the United States, across the world. In fact, this is standardized knowledge. So when you put it on your resume that you have a Microsoft Office Specialist certification, hiring managers will know what that means. That means a specific set of skills. The skills that are involved in passing this exam are listed here. Microsoft has broken this down into 6 sections. We're going to call them units. The first one is about managing documents. 20 to 25% of your test questions are going to be on managing documents. The second unit is about inserting and formatting text, paragraphs, and sections. An additional 20 to 25% of your test questions will be on that topic. Unit 3 is managing tables and lists. Only 15 to 20% of your test questions will be involved here. Unit 4 is creating and managing references. This is like tables of contents, endnotes, footnotes, captions, things like that. Only 5 to 10% of your test questions will be on this, so this is a lighter section. Unit 5 is on inserting and formatting graphic elements. Word is a much more powerful graphic design tool than many people realize. 15 to 20% of your questions will be on how to insert graphics and format them. And Unit 6 will be on managing document collaboration, another 5 to 10%. This is inserting and dealing with comments, using track changes, things like that. So let's dig in. Let's use Unit 1 as our example. Within Unit 1, I'm just going to expand this here, there are 4 learning objectives. And a learning objective is simply something that a student needs to be able to do or demonstrate at the end of a lesson. So managing documents means to Microsoft that you need to be able to do 4 things. First, you need to be able to navigate within documents. You need to be able to format documents. You need to be able to save and share documents, and you need to be able to inspect documents for issues. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly does that mean? Well, we can break down each learning objective into component skills. So navigating within documents, according to Microsoft, that means you need to be able to search for text within a document, link to locations within documents, move to specific locations and objects within documents, and then show and hide formatting marks and symbols and hidden text. So they really do break it down very, very specifically. So the way that we will use this information, the way that's reflected here in our course, is that each unit is separated. We have a lesson built around each of those learning objectives. And you'll notice that we have two versions here of lesson 1, two versions of lesson 2, two versions of lesson 3, and two versions of lesson 4. So now seems like a good time to talk about our learning philosophy here at Metro East Career Pathways. Our learning process is a 3-step production. Step 1, so lesson number 1, you will watch a series of skills videos that introduce you to the skills that navigate within documents. So let's go ahead and click here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So in this first assignment, lesson 1, watch navigating within documents, it reminds you we are in Unit 1, which is about managing documents. There are 4 lessons that you're going to learn within this unit, and we're going to work with lesson 1 at first, which is navigating within documents. It tells you this is the watch piece. We are going to watch a series of skills videos that introduce you to these specific skills. Watching a skills video is as simple as clicking on the link. I will have anywhere from 1 to 7 or 8 skills videos for each lesson. They're short, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You'll spend maybe 15 minutes to half an hour on average watching skills videos. In order to watch a skills video, you simply click the link. This little bubble over here will explain exactly how that works, but I'll just go ahead and step you through it. The first skills video is about using the navigation pane. I'll click on the link, and it opens a new window for me. We use a curriculum resource outside of Talent called Percipio, sometimes called Skillsoft, and that is where all of our skills videos in our online lab is housed. When you click on the link here in your Talent document, it opens up a new window for you in Percipio. If it asks you for login information, go ahead and log in using the same information you use in Talent. First name dot last name, same password, and it'll open up this screen for you. Now, there are a lot of videos that will be listed over here on the left. We have linked you directly to the one we want you to watch. All you have to do is click this button right here to start playing the video. When this particular video is over, make sure you stop the video player, close this tab, and come back to your Talent assignment to see what's next. You may watch some of these videos in this lesson. You may not. You may not watch them in this order. You may watch them at different times throughout our curriculum. So it's really important not to let autoplay run away with you. I'd like to draw your attention over here to this settings button. If you click it, you will see that you can turn autoplay on or off right here. You can also adjust your speed. If the speaker is going too quickly for you, you can click this and slow it down. Or if he's going too slowly for you, you can click here and speed it up. You can also turn on your captions by clicking here, and you can move to the next or back up. All of these controls should be pretty familiar to you if you've been on YouTube at all. You can bump to full screen using this button right here. So that said, you watch your 2-minute and 45-second skills video, and then you close this tab, and you come back to the assignment, and you click on the next video in line. Again, it opens your Percipio tab. It takes you directly to the video that you need to watch. Click play to watch your video, and then go ahead and close this tab. You will repeat that process until you have watched all of the video lessons for this assignment. And if occasionally an additional skills video will appear right after this, all this means is that the content in Percipio either didn't cover something to my satisfaction or it skipped it entirely. And so we shot an additional skills video just plugging that hole. So if another video automatically pops up when you're done here, just watch it and then you'll move through. So once you've watched the linked videos, scroll to the bottom of this window to click the complete button. At this point, I would like to point out a couple things. There are, I should say, 2 scroll buttons here. There's one inner scroll button, and this is where you scroll through a multi-page assignment, okay? Just like this. There is another scroll bar over here that allows you to scroll through the actual talent window. And that's important because there are some tools up here at the top of your screen that you want to be aware of. This is your home button. It'll take you back to the course. You will not have this view as an instructor button because you don't have instructor permissions. The points buttons you can ignore. If you mouse over this lesson feature, you'll get a drop down with the table of contents of this course, all of the things that you need to do, and it'll show you which videos or which lessons you've already done. Again, you can't hop ahead, but you can go backwards at any time. This Files button over here, if an assignment asks you to download a file that you need to use to complete an exercise, you will find that file over here under the Files button. It's as easy as clicking on it and downloading it to your computer and then following the instructions to use it. The More button just can take you back to that course info page. It can take you back to the original landing page with all of your enrolled courses on it, or you can log out entirely. At the bottom of the screen, however, you'll notice that when we scroll all the way down to the bottom of this lesson, it says, once you've watched the linked videos, scroll to the bottom of this window to click the Complete button. And you can scroll down to the bottom of this window and not see a Complete button. Sometimes you need to use this scroll bar, the outside scroll bar, to come all the way down, and there's a Complete Let's Continue button. So go ahead and click that to move you to the next lesson in line. In this case, there is an additional skills video. All you need to do is click this button to play it. It's about 5 minutes long. And then when you're done, you click the Complete and Continue button to move on to the next thing. Now it tells me that I can't access the lesson 1 practice unless I've completed the skills video with the hidden text, which I just did. So let's go ahead and I'll walk you through this one here. Okay, so the second piece of our learning process, we talked about piece 1 of the learning process is just watching. You're going to watch some skills videos where they will introduce you to new skills and new techniques just by demonstrating them. The second piece of our learning process is the practice piece, and that comes in a couple of different flavors. Right after you've watched some skills videos, there is some guided practice. The guided practice means that we're going to let you get some hands-on experience with these new skills that were just demonstrated by entering the online lab and doing a lab guide. The lab guide gives you super detailed, supportive instructions that walks you through using those new skills that you just saw demonstrated using your own hands in a lab environment that is loaded with the 2019 version of Windows or Word, sorry. The first time you do a practice lesson, there's going to be a lot of support. This first practice assignment is going to give you loads of screenshots that tell you screen by screen exactly where to click and what to do. Tells you how to log in if you need to. It explains what the screen is going to look like step by step by step. It explains everything you need to do, and eventually you will get to the assignment. And it'll say the lab guides assigned for lesson 1 are. Click here to enter the lab, and these are the 3 lab guides that we are going to do. It says every time, the lab guides provide extremely detailed instructions for each step. Please read carefully and completely to avoid confusion. I cannot stress enough how important it is to slow down and read out loud the instructions so that you don't get off course. Same reminder here that we have for the videos. You won't always complete the lab guides in the order they appear on screen. You may need to scroll through the list to find the assigned lab guide for each lesson. So let's go ahead and just step through the lab together. So I'm going to click here to access the online lab, and the first one we're going to do is navigating within Word. So we open this up. It takes us to a Percipio screen once again. If it asks for login credentials, go ahead and log in just as you would with Talent. You will launch the lab by clicking this button, and a new window will open. So this is what the online lab window is going to look like. This piece over here on the left is going to give you the lab guide instructions. This is where you're going to read what to do. This piece over here is going to give you the desktop of a virtual machine that is loaded with Word 2019 that you will use just like a regular machine. It's a little fussy to get it started and get going, but you'll get comfortable pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and close this little screen because it's distracting. And over here, we're going to find the lab guide. Remember, I said you may need to scroll through the lab guide to find the one that you're working with or the one that you want. A green check mark in front of a lab guide indicates you've already completed it. A blue eyeball in front of a lab guide indicates that you've started it or you've looked at it, but you've not completed it. Nothing like these little paper icons mean you've not looked at this one yet. Let's go ahead and select the lab guide we want to do with a single click. It says, okay, this is the one we want to do. Let's get started. So go ahead and click the Start button. I want you to notice as soon as I click Start, we're going to see some action in this pane right here. This controls the virtual machines on the other side of the world that we're going to use. As soon as I click Start, they're going to start booting up the correct machine. And you'll see now this turns into busy, and we're looking for PLab Win 10. That is the practice lab on a Windows 10 machine, and it has all of the Microsoft Office products loaded on it that we'll need to use. Once again, it gives me this kind of tutorial window. I'm going to close that. And while the machines are booting up, I'm going to just talk you through a few things that you need to look at over here. First, there is a getting started video right here. If this is your first time using the practice lab, or you just want a little bit more reminders, orientation before you get started, like maybe it's been a while, you can click this video and you can play it every single time you get started in here. That is totally fine. If you scroll down a little bit, it's going to remind you what our learning outcomes are here. What are we trying to do? Exercise number 1 is going to be about traversing within Word documents. It's going to say for the exam objectives, we are aiming at the navigate within documents piece here. It's going to give you a little information. It always says that it takes about an hour to complete these labs. I find that to be too long. Usually it takes people half that time. It really depends on how slowly you want to go, how detailed you want to be. So don't be scared off by this 1 hour. Once you've read down to the bottom of this, you can go ahead and click Next to get started. And it's going to talk to you again a little bit about what we need to do here. It says we're going to connect to PLab Windows 10. There's PLab Windows 10. It's on. Here's my desktop. Occasionally, you will see something like this, and you might worry that this is talking about your computer at home. It is not. This is about the lab computers that are operating over on the other side of the world. You can always just mouse over it, click this little arrow, and it'll go away. Nothing for you to worry about. When we're ready to proceed, we click Next. All right, now we have all of our instructions over here. So this is going to explain to us exactly what we're doing today. We're going to use the navigation pane. I encourage you to read this very carefully. And then we get to task 1 and we get to step 1. Ensure you've powered on the required devices and you're connected to the correct lab. And we are. Open the Word application by double clicking, or you can click Start and Word. So here's Word, and I can double click to open that. However, you may notice that Start button that I normally might see that's indicated in this little screenshot. You know, here's my taskbar way down here at the bottom. It's got my Start button over here, my date and time over here. I don't see that over here. The reason for that is this button right here. This controls how the screen is fitting. This virtual desktop machine is fitting in this little window. Notice I have a scroll bar over here on the right. If I scroll, I'll close that extra little bit. If I scroll down, you'll see that now I get my taskbar shows up over here. So if I wanted to go Start in Windows, I could, or Start in Word, I could. If I scroll all the way up to the top, you'll see I have another series of buttons that have to do with controlling the virtual machine in the online lab. You can use this button here to fit the devices to the page so that you see the entire thing, or you can leave it like this. I encourage you to play around in here and see what is comfortable for you. So I'm just going to do the very first bit here so that you get comfortable with how this works. I'm going to double click Word to open it. So you manipulate this desktop exactly the same way you would manipulate a desktop at home. So I've opened Word. Step 2 is the initial screen with a recents list is displayed. Click Open Other Documents. So here's my recent screen. I click Open Other Documents. And here's a screenshot that tells me how that's going to look. Step 3, now the open screen is displayed. There it is. We want to browse for an existing document, so we're going to click the Browse button right there. So you're starting to get the idea of how this is really detailed, step by step by step. And it is tempting to skim, but I promise you, you don't want to skim. You'll get in the weeds quickly. So when the open dialog box appears, it gives you the click path for exactly where you want to go to the file that you want to open. We're looking for the one called Coffee History. So let's go into our Word 2019 data. Let's go into our Level 2 student data. We'll go into editing and organizing, and we will find the coffee history, and we'll give it a double click to open it up. Okay, after you get the file open, this is going to tell you all of the things that you're going to do to the file to get comfortable using the navigation pane. I trust you to just go ahead and read through. You read the instruction over here, you do the instruction over here, read the instruction over here, do the instruction over here. A couple of things that you're going to want to be aware of. Your mouse is the biggest one. When you are in a portion of the screen that you can just click on, you'll notice that your mouse is this pointy arrow. Up here on the ribbon, same thing. When you get into a typable part of the screen, a part of the screen where you can click and type, excuse me, you'll notice that your mouse hashes out like this. That's just a known issue in the lab. It happens to everybody. You'll get used to it. If you're wondering which one of these three shadow pointers is the right one, it's the one on the left. So if I wanted to click between the two E's in coffee here, I would take my mouse, I would line up the far left pointer and click, and that's where my mouse lands. It's just a thing you have to get used to. The other thing I'd like to point out while you're here is that this menu button up here has some things in it that you could possibly use. Maybe you won't have to. You may never need any of these, but just be aware that it's there. And if it happens to be sitting on top of a tab in the ribbon that you need, if you mouse over the left side of it, you get this four-headed directional arrow. You can click and drag this thing out of your way. You can put it somewhere else so that you have full access to everything that you need here. So when you're in the lab, go ahead and click by click, step by step, go all the way down to the bottom, all the way down. It's a lot, all the way down. And then you click next when you're done. The very last thing it's going to do is say, okay, here's what we just did. You should now be able to do these things. You can give us some feedback if you want. And then when you're done, you click done. I've already done this lab, so I've already got a little check mark there. It'll look like this for you, this little X here. So when you're done, you click it and you get the fancy check mark. And when you're ready to bail out, you just click the exit button right here. However, if there are other labs that you need to do, you can go back to this tab right here and go back to the lab guides and then pick a new lab to do from the list. Or you can just close this tab and close this tab and go back to your assignment and choose the next one in line, click the button to go into the lab and complete the lab that way. Most assignments will have one lab guide assigned, possibly two. 3 is a little much, but these go quickly. So once you're done with the lab, you scroll to the bottom of the screen and you click complete and let's continue. And it takes you by the hand and takes you directly into lesson number 2. All right, and lesson number 2, still in Unit 1, still managing documents, but now you'll see we've moved on to learning Objective 2, formatting documents. It reminds you that we're going to watch some video lessons. These are the skills that we're going to pick up in Lesson 2, and here's your list of lessons. So we're going to follow that format. I'm just going to go ahead and come back to this table of contents page here, and you'll see that we are going to follow that format of watch and practice, watch, practice, watch, practice, watch, extra skills video, and practice through the entire 4 lessons that are in unit number 1. At the end of every unit, you're going to get a hands-on exercise. So here's the Unit 1 hands-on exercise. You click this button to get the instructions. It tells you how it works, which files you need to download, and how you're going to use them. Then there's a video here that shows you exactly how you're going to use it, gives you a little demonstration, just like I did with these other assignments. Like, I've downloaded the files, here's how I arrange them, let's do steps 1, 2, and 3 together, and then you're on your own. You've got enough orientation to get you through. And then when you've finished, there's an answer key. So you can watch an instructor or a facilitator do the entire hands-on exercise, and it gives you an opportunity to say, all right, I didn't get that same outcome. What did they do different than I did? And then to go back and figure out how to get back on track. Or you may see that you got the same outcome, but through a different method. And it's important to be aware of that, because the test may ask you to achieve a certain outcome, but use a certain method. So only knowing one way to do a thing sometimes is not enough. It really pays to know 2 or 3 different ways to get to the same outcome. So at the end of every unit, you'll have the opportunity to do a hands-on exercise that sort of draws on all of the skills and techniques that you were just introduced to and you just practiced, and it asks you to use them a little bit more independently. A lot of people view this as kind of like a quiz, and I want to encourage you not to view it that way. View it as more like a diagnostic. If the exercise asks you to do 10 things and you do 8 of them no sweat, well, then those 8 skills are secure. Great. You don't need to worry about those ones. But if there were 2 that gave you some trouble, that's not an indication that you didn't learn enough. That's an indication that that was a new skill for you. You might have learned some new techniques, and it's an invitation to go back into the unit, find the lesson that touched on those things, watch those videos again, do that practice again, come back and do the hands-on exercise again. We encourage you to do this circular, repetitive sort of thing because that's how adults learn. That is how they learn best, is having to apply a new skill to a real situation. So that's what these hands-on exercises are intended to do. Do them as many times as you want and then move on when you feel comfortable. It'll take you right into Unit 2. The last thing I want to talk about is the context projects. So 3-stage learning process, as we talked about. You watch skills videos, you practice those new skills. You get a lot of supported practice in the lab, and then you get a lot of independent practice in the hands-on exercises. The context projects are the 3rd step of our learning process, and that's the create step. In these steps, you are going to create documents that would serve some kind of career purpose. So for example, context project number 1 is about emails for business. And the steps are pretty familiar to you, or they will be very familiar to you by the time you get there. The first step is watch. You will watch a handful of skills videos that explain all the components of a well-written business email. You will practice. You'll have the opportunity to write a couple of short emails in business scenarios. If you have a couple of emails you need to write, great opportunity to write those emails. If you don't have a couple of emails you need to write, we provide some scenarios that are very common, like asking an old colleague out for coffee to network, or contacting a former school or employer for a reference or for transcripts. These next 2 steps, however, will be new to you. There's the revise step. So what we're going to ask you to do here, after you've written a draft of whatever the project is asking for, you will do a parallel reach to a peer, someone else in your program, and you will ask them to review your work. Now, you will have downloaded a rubric that explains in detail exactly what's necessary to complete this project and to get full points. You'll offer that your work and the rubric to this peer who's going to review your work for you so that they know what they're judging you against. They'll give you some feedback. They'll say, hey, I thought you did really well on this, this, and this. I think you could strengthen that or that. And then you will take their feedback and you will write another draft. You'll revise. And once you've gotten to a final draft that feels like it's good work to you, you will, through Talent, upload that file. Through the submit, that file will go to me or to another facilitator. We will grade it against the rubric that you've had from the beginning, and then we'll get back to you. 75% score and higher is a pass, and we rarely have people who don't get that 75% after the revise process. So there are 3 context projects throughout the Word curriculum. So every 2 units, we will pause. So there's Unit 1, there's Unit 2. We'll pause for a context project. And that will allow you the opportunity to use your new skills in that career context and kind of digest and cement those new skills. Once you've finished that context project, you move on. You do 2 more units, Unit 3 and Unit 4. And then there's another context project here, resume formatting. We will give you a dummy resume to format, and you'll just use all of your new Word skills to really make it easy to read, easy to communicate the really important parts of a resume to an employer, a hiring manager. And then Unit 5 and Unit 6, and then you'll do one final context project, which is creating a graphic resume. And by the end of all of this, you will be more than ready to attempt the MO 100 exam. And that is essentially the structure that we use to walk you through all of these assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. If you have any questions or comments, you can always reach out to us via the email function in Talent, and we'd be happy to answer them. In the meantime, good luck, and I look forward to seeing you around our virtual program and at a learning circle soon. Thank you.